Okay, so what's the best support crew to use for the casino heist? I've noticed that a lot of players tend to have different opinions on which is the best gunman, driver or hacker to choose. So today I'm going to explain in detail which is the best gunman, driver and hacker to use and why you should use them. So let's start off with the gunman. Now before we get any further, I'm sure you all know this already, but as you can see at the bottom there's a little percentage icon. This represents how much money they'll take from the final heist cut. So as you can see, this one here takes a 5% cut, and there's other choices. If you look through the other gunmen, you can see there's one that takes a 7% cut, or one that takes a 9% cut. And basically how it works is the ones that take a higher cut will give you better weapons. For example, the 9% cut gives you an assault shotgun and some sort of rifle. I think that's a carbine rifle. And the 5% cut only gives you, say, a micro SMG and a pump shotgun. So you might be thinking, should I pick the most expensive one, which gives me good weapons, or should I pick the cheapest one, which gives me poor weapons? So first, let's talk about the approaches. So if you're doing the big con approach, then I'd definitely recommend picking the cheapest gunman, which takes a 5% cut, because although he doesn't give you very good weapons, if you do the big con correctly, you shouldn't need to fire your weapons once. All you need to do is just creep around the building, knock out a few guards like this, and as you can see, I'm just doing that with a pistol, and you should be all right. So while the 9% gunman would give you better guns, it's just a waste of money because you shouldn't need to fire your guns once. All you need to do is just knock 2 guards out and then you can escape the building undetected. So as you can see, a pistol will do the trick perfectly fine. In fact, you could probably do this approach without any guns at all. You could just use like a melee weapon, like say a baseball bat or a crowbar or a hammer, and just knock the guards out with that. And you would still manage to escape the building undetected without any issues at all. So there's no reason why you should pick an expensive gunman. Just pick the 5% and you should be fine. So now that you've chosen the gunman, you'll notice there's 2 different types of weapon loadouts. There's a shotgun loadout and there's a micro SMG loadout. Personally, I just go with the SMG loadout because it's better just in case, but it doesn't really matter to be honest, because as I said, you shouldn't need to fire your guns once. Anyways, moving on to the silent and sneaky approach, which is the best gunman to choose? Again, just go with the 5% because all you need to do is headshot the guards at close range, and as long as you don't go in their cone of vision, then they won't even see you coming. So you don't really need to pick an expensive gunman for that. A pistol with a silencer will still guarantee a headshot at close range. And remember, it's the silent and sneaky approach, so as long as you don't alert the guards, then you don't have to worry about them shooting back at you, so you should be able to get in and out of the vault undetected. So here we are doing the silent and sneaky approach. We're both using pistols, as you can see, and we're having no trouble taking out the guards because they're literally right next to us and all you need to do is just headshot them. As long as you don't go in their cone of vision, then you won't get detected, and most of the guards will be standing still, so they'll be pretty easy to take out. For example, these 2 guards, just wait till they kind of straighten their heads and then just headshot them and it's an instant kill. It's as easy as that, and that is why you don't need good weapons because, yeah, sure, you know, the 9% gunman will give you much better weapons, but you don't need to use them. Like here, for example, all you need to do is just aim at the head, shoot them, and they go down. And as you can see, a pistol does the trick just fine. So yeah, just pick the 5% gunman. But anyway, once you've done that, you'll see there's 2 types of weapon loadouts. There's the machine pistol loadout and the micro SMG loadout. Now, it makes absolutely no difference which one you pick. They've all got suppressors on them, so just pick whichever one you want. It really doesn't matter. And finally, which is the best gunman to pick for the aggressive heist? Now, you might be thinking, surely you need a better gunman for the aggressive because you're going to be facing the guards head on and the guards are going to be shooting at you. Well, to be honest, I've done the aggressive loads of times with the 5% gunman and it works out just fine. Now, of course, the weapons he gives you aren't as good as the 9 or 10% weapons, but they're good enough to get the job done. And if you do the Duggan shipment setup mission, which is this one right here, the guards won't have any armour and will have really bad weapons, so it shouldn't be too difficult to take them out, even with the cheapest gunman. So when you pick the 5% gunman, you'll see there's a revolver loadout and a shotgun loadout. I'd say definitely pick the shotgun loadout, simply because a shotgun is great for taking out targets at close range with just 1 hit, whereas a revolver just isn't really that powerful. Now, if you really think that you're going to struggle with the 5% guns because they're so bad, then I'd recommend picking the 8% gunman. Not the 9 or the 10%, but the 8%, because the 8% gives you a combat MG and a heavy shotgun, which are both very powerful weapons. So if you really don't feel confident using the 5% Gunman, then just pick the 8% Gunman, and that should make it really easy. But again, I just go the 5% Gunman, and it works perfectly for me. So here we are doing the aggressive approach. We're using the cheapest guns, and as you can see, we're taking out the guards with ease. Even the cheapest shotgun will kill with one hit at close range, and the SMG is good for headshots, as you can see here. So that's why I always pick the cheapest guns, even on the aggressive approach, because they do the job just fine. Okay, so we've discussed which is the best gunman to use. Now let's talk about which is the best getaway driver to use for each approach. So, just like with the gunman, the ones that take a higher percentage cut will provide you with better vehicles. So which driver do you pick? Again, just pick the cheapest one which takes a 5% cut for all three approaches, because the getaway cars really aren't that important. I've done heists loads of times where we don't even use the getaway cars. We just stole a car off the street because it's closer by and more convenient. So, there's really no point wasting your money on an expensive driver. Sure, they do provide you with faster cars, but like I said, you might just end up stealing a car off the street. Also, remember, there's a helicopter that spawns on top of the police station, and a lot of players just take that instead. And that will get you to the drop-off faster than any car could. So, for those of you who don't know where this helicopter is, just follow the route that I'm going right now, and it'll always be on top of the police station. Also, watch out for any police choppers that might be shooting back at you. Just shoot them with your SMG. Then just get in the chopper and fly straight to the buyer, and that will get you there quicker than any getaway vehicle would, so it's a really convenient option if you don't want to drive. Anyway, once you've chosen the 5% getaway driver, you'll see you have a choice of 4 cars to pick from. Now, 3 out of 4 of these cars are rather slow and have bad handling, but the other remaining car is actually quite quick and handles pretty well, and this is the Sentinel Classic. So, if you've got any common sense, then I'd say definitely pick this car because it's cheap and it's quick. Probably not as quick as the 9 or the 10% cars, but by no means slow. So here's some footage of me driving the Sentinel Classic back to my arcade, and as you can see, it's definitely not a slow car. In fact, it's quite the opposite, and the handling's quite decent too. And if that's not enough, here's another good thing about picking the cheapest cars. They tend to spawn in much more convenient locations, and what I mean by this is they always tend to spawn a good distance from the casino and out the way of where most of the cops are, making it really easy to get to them without being spotted. So here what I've done is I've outlined in red an area where the 5% cars always spawn, and as you can see, it's a great location. It's away from the casino and away from where all the cops are, so getting to the cars without being spotted is going to be quite easy. However, when you pick the 9 or the 10% cars, I've noticed that they usually spawn in really inconvenient locations, for example on the racetrack where there's cops. And recently I was doing a heist with someone who picked, I think it was 9% cars, and they spawned right outside the casino entrance where all the cops are, as you can see by where that arrow's pointing. So you can imagine trying to get to them without being spotted would be really difficult. So there you go, there's another reason why you shouldn't pick expensive cars, because they spawn in stupid locations where you're most likely to get spotted by the cops. But anyways, just to reiterate, here are the 4 reasons why you should always pick the cheapest cars for all 3 approaches. Reason number 1, to put it simply, they're cheap, so they'll cost you less. Reason number 2, 1 out of 4 of them, the Sentinel Classic, which is what I'm in right now, is actually quite fast. Not as fast as the more expensive cars, but fast enough. Reason number 3, you might end up not even using the cars. Like I showed you earlier, some people just like to take the helicopter instead because it's much quicker than any car. So there's no point picking expensive cars if you're not even going to use them. And reason number 4, the cheapest cars always spawn in good locations, away from the cops, so if you do decide to use them, they're easy to get to without being spotted. Anyway, let's move on to the hacker. Now, the hacker isn't as self-explanatory as the other 2 support crew members. So basically, what the hacker does is determine how long you get inside the vault before the timer runs out. And if you're still inside the vault when the timer runs out, then you will alert the guards if you haven't already, and the vault will start to fill with toxic gas. So you want to be long gone before the timer reaches 0. Now, the cheapest hacker, which takes a 3% cut, will only give you 2 minutes and 26 seconds in the vault. And the most expensive one, which takes a 10% cut, will give you 3 minutes and 30 seconds in the vault. So for the hacker, you're going to want to pick the most expensive one because you want to have the maximum amount of time to take whatever's inside. And although they do cost you more, it's worth it because you'll end up with more money overall. Okay, so here we are in the vault, and we've got the most expensive hacker who's providing us with 3 minutes and 30 seconds. So I've skipped straight to the end, and in that time we've managed to collect about 2.8 million. Now, let's suppose that we picked the 3% hacker, which provides us with 2 minutes and 26 seconds in the vault. Let me show you how much money you'd get in comparison. So here I'm using the same clip as before, but what I've done is I've added my own timer, which is set to 2 minutes and 26 seconds to simulate how long the 3% hacker would give us. So let's see how much money we can get. Okay, so the timer's coming up to about 25 seconds, so let's say we stop collecting now and leave the vault, and we'll see how much we've got. So I've paused the clip on about 23 seconds, and this is when you'd start leaving the vault. So how much have we got? 1,561,000, and if you remember correctly, with the 10% hacker, which gave us 3 minutes and 30 seconds, we managed to get about 2.8 million. And that is the reason why you always pick the most expensive hacker, because you'll get so much more money from the vault. If you pick the 3% hacker, you might as well just cancel your heist and start again, because it really isn't worth doing. Now, there's one hacker that I forgot to mention, which is the 9% hacker, and this hacker provides you with 3 minutes and 25 seconds in the vault, so it's only a 5-second difference. So if you haven't got the 10%, then just go with the 9%, and that should still give you plenty of time to collect quite a lot from the vault. But anyways, that just about wraps everything up. Those are your best choices for your gunman, driver and hacker, and if you've enjoyed watching, then feel free to drop a like, and if you're new to my channel and enjoy my content, then consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video.